A major economic disruption has shaken Britain in the past 72 hours, following what is now being described as the largest financial withdrawal in the nation's modern history. Reports suggest that a series of decisions made by the British Prime Minister and Parliament triggered an unprecedented economic reaction from India, affecting markets, businesses, and citizens across the United Kingdom. While the details are still emerging, the scope of the impact has already been described as comparable to the 2008 financial crisis and even surpassing some of the economic consequences of Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic. The situation began last Tuesday during a routine foreign policy address in the House of Commons. Prime Minister Starmer reportedly addressed the chamber regarding India's governance of Kashmir, emphasizing human rights concerns and the importance of moral leadership in foreign policy. In his speech, the Prime Minister announced a suspension of approval for an enhanced trade agreement with India, pending assurances on human rights practices. He also declared the formation of a commission to examine potential reparations for historical actions during British rule in India. The announcements reportedly had immediate economic repercussions. Within minutes, the British pound began to depreciate, and financial markets reacted sharply. Conservative MPs reportedly raised objections, warning that such statements could jeopardize Britain's economic interests. According to industry observers, the reaction was immediate. India reportedly convened an emergency cabinet meeting within 90 minutes of the speech, signaling a rapid and coordinated response. At 11:47 p.m. London time, India's finance minister is reported to have issued a series of economic measures that included the withdrawal of sovereign wealth fund investments from British markets, the suspension of planned corporate investments, and the termination of certain defense contracts. Analysts estimate that the combined financial impact could reach $500 billion, roughly 25% of Britain's annual GDP. The measures reportedly included immediate tariffs on British exports to India and suspensions of high-value trade agreements. Experts describe this as one of the largest single-day financial shocks in modern British history. The human impact of these decisions was also quickly evident. Reports from industry and local communities indicate that thousands of jobs were immediately at risk. William Thompson, a factory manager in Birmingham, reported that 17 million in orders were cancelled overnight, placing 340 local jobs in jeopardy. Similar reports emerged from Glasgow, Manchester, and Edinburgh, where companies reliant on Indian investments faced immediate financial uncertainty. The Confederation of British Industry estimates that over 175,000 jobs could be affected, spanning manufacturing, technology, and service sectors. Financial markets across London reacted sharply. The London Stock Exchange reportedly triggered automatic circuit breakers after a 9% drop, the first such interruption since the 2008 financial crisis. Major banks experienced severe losses, with HSBC and Barclays shares falling 17% and 14%, respectively. Credit rating agencies, including Moody's, announced emergency reviews of Britain's sovereign debt rating. The pound fell to a 37-year low against the US dollar, intensifying concern among importers, exporters, and consumers. Inside Downing Street, senior government officials reportedly grappled with the scale of the crisis. Leaked cabinet communications indicate that ministers were aware of the potential severity of India's economic retaliation, with Treasury documents warning of possible consequences 48 hours prior to the speech. Nonetheless, the Prime Minister proceeded with his policy announcement, prompting criticism from multiple quarters about the balance between moral leadership and economic prudence. Cabinet members reportedly expressed concern over the political and financial fallout, warning that hundreds of thousands of jobs were at risk and that GDP could fall by an estimated 3% if the crisis continued. Amid the market collapse, the Prime Minister reportedly initiated a private video call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The call, intended to be confidential, was accidentally broadcast to media outlets due to a technical oversight. During the 17-minute conversation, the Prime Minister reportedly appealed for reconsideration of India's financial measures, emphasizing the human and economic consequences for ordinary British citizens. The Indian leadership, according to reports, maintained a firm stance, stating that actions had consequences, and that economic measures would remain in place until Britain demonstrated respect and cooperation in bilateral relations. The broadcast of the call had immediate political repercussions in Britain. The footage quickly went viral on social media, trending globally under the hashtag #Starmer begs, reportedly accumulating tens of millions of views within hours. Former officials and political analysts describe the situation as a significant diplomatic embarrassment, with some commentators labeling it one of the most humiliating moments in modern British diplomacy. Traditional media outlets echoed these concerns, noting the unprecedented nature of the leak and its potential long-term impact on Britain's international standing. Politically, the crisis intensified internal party scrutiny. 4 junior ministers reportedly submitted resignations, while senior Labour MPs representing constituencies with strong economic ties to India called for emergency party meetings. Speculation about leadership challenges began circulating, further compounding the government's challenges. Opposition leaders seized the moment to question both the Prime Minister's judgment and the administration's preparedness for international economic crises. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak, alongside British Indian business leaders, reportedly criticized the government's approach, framing the situation as a preventable economic disaster caused by diplomatic miscalculation. The broader economic impact extended beyond immediate investments and contracts. Other nations with close economic ties to India, including Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, reportedly began reassessing their investments in the UK, signaling potential secondary economic consequences. Energy companies warned of increased costs, technology firms announced hiring freezes, and universities reported significant reductions in anticipated revenue from Indian student enrollments. Analysts estimate that cumulative losses could exceed $1.2 trillion over the next 5 years, representing approximately half of Britain's annual GDP. Economists and political analysts have also highlighted the reputational cost of the crisis. Dr. Harish Patel of the London School of Economics emphasized that the incident represents a fundamental reassessment of Britain's economic reliability on the global stage. A major economy like India publicly withdrawing confidence can create a domino effect, influencing decisions by other nations, investors, and multinational corporations. International institutions, including the IMF, issued statements of concern about market instability, while Japan and the European Union expressed alarm at the potential for financial contagion. Even the United States reportedly offered cautious diplomatic support, emphasizing dialogue but refraining from active intervention. Within Westminster, officials have described the subsequent 72 hours as critical for stabilizing both markets and public confidence. Treasury officials reportedly worked around the clock to mitigate potential cascading effects when markets reopened. The Foreign Office coordinated back-channel communications with Indian counterparts, while business leaders advocated for swift government action to prevent widespread corporate bankruptcies. Analysts suggest that immediate measures could help prevent deeper systemic damage, but the situation remains highly volatile. The economic repercussions have been felt at the individual level. Pensioners, employees, and small business owners have reported sudden losses in savings and anticipated income. For many, retirement plans, household budgets, and career prospects have been directly affected by the rapid withdrawal of investments and contracts. Experts warn that this crisis could have enduring consequences for income security, consumer confidence, and overall economic stability in the UK. The situation highlights the tension between moral foreign policy positions and economic pragmatism. While the Prime Minister's statements emphasized human rights, historical accountability, and ethical governance, the immediate financial consequences have underscored the potential risks of diplomatic decisions on domestic economies. Analysts note that striking a balance between ethical leadership and economic security is a complex challenge for modern governments, particularly in a globally interconnected market. Looking ahead, experts anticipate that the UK government will face a prolonged period of economic and political recovery. Senior civil servants are reportedly compiling long-term assessments of the impact, while Treasury and financial institutions explore emergency measures to stabilize markets and support affected businesses. Policy advisors emphasize the importance of rebuilding investor confidence, restoring diplomatic relationships, and implementing strategies to protect ordinary citizens from ongoing economic fallout. Public reaction has been intense. Citizens have expressed frustration, fear, and concern about the government's handling of international relations and its consequences for everyday life. Social media discourse reflects widespread debate over whether moral leadership justifies immediate economic disruption, with many highlighting the tangible impact.